96. I'm going to start on the top line. That's today's Daf. So the Mishnah, we learned about someone that detaches growth from a flower pot. Yeah, we said, well, it depends if it's on Shabbos. We said it depends if it had a hole in the flower pot or not. If it had a hole in it, then it's called it's nakov. Nakov is a hole. Then he's chayiv. If it doesn't have a hole, then he's pater because it was already detached from the ground. Then we went into discussing different kalim and when it's considered not a keli because of a hole. So we gave five rules, 5 levels. On the top line of Tzadik Vav, it says Amravasi Sheinin. Sheinin means that they taught sort of like a Tanu Rabbanan. Tanu, the Tuf and the Shin, Dr. Stein. The Tanu is Shanu, right? Like Mishnah, it's Masni. So Sheinin was taught Klicheres Shiurei Kekunis Mashke. A Klicheres, when does it become not a keli? When liquid can seep into it. Not seep out of it, but can seep into it. And that's going to be not a keli. Kekunis Mashke. We said that this was relevant for the paraduma. It says that you have to put the water, mayim chayim al keli. It's not a keli anymore if the water seeps out. That was the first level. It's not that it's going to be tar if the keli was tamei. For that, you need a bigger hole. Yeah, there's just a slight crack that the water seeps in. Water seeps in. The water seeps out. That was a different story. That the Gemara is going to say now. The water seeps in. It's not considered a keli for the paraduma. The measurement that they said that the water seeps out, that's Eily Gistra Bavad. That's only regarding a shard of a keli, a broken piece, but that's used to put under a different dripping keli. So it wasn't like a Walmart or a Target or something. You get a keli right away. They reused broken stuff. So and if it leaked, they put a shard under it to catch the drip. So, but if the shard that itself had a hole, then that was already too much. They wouldn't put a shard under a shard. My timer, what's the reason why we have a less of a shear for a gistra? Gistra is the broken piece, the shard. Because you don't want to put a shard for a shard, a patch on a patch. A leaking bucket to catch another leaking bucket's drip. Okay. Amar Ula. Ula says, Ula, remember, was a traveler. So he quotes to us what happened in Eretz Yisrael. There's 2 Amirayim in Eretz Yisrael that argue about this. Rabbi Yossi bar Rav and Rabbi Yossi bar Zavda. I believe those were the same 2 that argued about Hanukkah. If it's because of the Parei Chag, remember that? Yeah, Rabbi Yossi bar Rav, and it's an Amar Ula. It's Ula again. He says in Eretz Yisrael, Pligi b'marava, Rabbi Yossi bar Rav, Rabbi Yossi bar Zvida. Oh, in Daf Chaf Aleph, it was Rabbi Yossi bar Zvida. Here's after. Probably the same. Chad amar k'meitzirimen v'chad amar kasher ishkatan. Says this machlekes regarding if it's considered detached from the ground because it's in a flower pot without a hole. That at what point will the hole be considered a hole that it's considered attached to the ground? And when it's attached to the ground, if it gets wet, then it's not susceptible to tumah. It's only when it's detached from the ground and it gets wet, it becomes susceptible to tumah. So he says this is a machlekes between these 2 Amiram and Eretz Yisrael. One says that if there's a hole the size of a pomegranate, then it's considered attached to the ground and it's not susceptible to tumah. The other one says if there's a hole the size of a small root of the plant, then it's already considered attached to the ground. Now, those are the 2 extremes of different types of holes. There's other sizes in there. There's olives and other things. If you want to remember this brisa, the siman is the Mishnah in Menachos that said no matter what size a person brought, whether it was a large or small, as long as his intention was for the sake of heaven, so it was accepted. So it didn't matter how much his donation was. So here we quote that brisa to tell us a way of remembering this, that Mishnah, to remember this brisa. One says the largest size and one says the smallest size. That's the okay. Amar Rabbi Chinina Barkana Mishmei Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Chinina Barkana says the name of Rabbi Eliezer. Klicher Shir Kamitzizesem. This is the shir that we gave that something becomes tar. If it has a hole the size that an olive could fall through, could fall out, then it's already not considered a vessel for food. That would be a typical size of food that you wouldn't use this vessel anymore, and it's considered tar because it's broken. Mar Kashisha B'rei de Rabba Mesayimba. We had Mar Kashisha yesterday as well, but over there was Mar Kashisha B'rei de Rabba. Said he was the elder son. Again, we didn't know if that meant he was born when his father was the elder, which meant he was the younger one, or if it means he was born first. So, Makshisha B'rei de Rabbi Messiah, he concludes this brayso, Mishmei Rabbi Eliezer, in the name of Rabbi Eliezer, B'hareihen keklei galalim, klei avanim, klei adama. This is so pure that it's as if it's utensils that are made out of manure, which is probably some ancient way of making china. They would take like clay and make it very hot. So here they would take manure and they would make it hot and they would turn it into a utensil, or a stone utensil, or just a mud utensil. That these are an ein makabel tuma. And what's he bringing out of this? If it's tar, it's tar. You're comparing it to other kelim that are tar. His point is that even if the Balabaya said, I'm not going to use this utensil for my regular kitchen work, I'm going to use this just to keep my produce, my pomegranates in it. Now, if someone does that, normally we said if he's decided that he's going to use it for pomegranates, then if olives could fall through, it's still considered a keli because pomegranates don't fall through. So he just increased the shear of this keli in his mind by deciding what he's going to use it for. So Rabbi is concluding that even if he decided to use it for pomegranates, it's still going to be tar if olives drop out. Not biblically and not rabbinic. However, lenient summit pasal ad shiyif chasruva. We mentioned yesterday that a keli also serves another function if it's sealed, that it protects kalim that are inside it if it's in a oyel hames. It's in a tent where there's a corpse. Everything under the tent is tamei, except for things that are protected inside the sealed container. Now, how sealed is sealed? Once the seal is on, well, let's say there's a hole in the end of the container. So it says it's still considered protected until it's broken. The majority is broken, which is probably even larger than Mitzri money. Okay. But there's a protection over kalim becoming tummy and ayel ames, even if it's protected by a utensil that has a hole that's larger than a pomegranate. It's near. This is Hashem. Okay. Now this is called Perek HaZorek. It gives us some unique halachas regarding carrying. We've been discussing carrying until now, back and forth, little things here and there. But this perek gives us some things that we really wouldn't have known. A really big chidushim. You'll see how it goes. It's like almost hard to swallow. Okay, it says someone throws from private domain to public domain. What we mean is that carrying, I know, is you take it from one domain to another. The person is not moving. The object is moving. And we'll see, it's chayiv. He threw it from private to public domain, it's chayiv. Rishus Rabban l'Rishus Yachid, or the opposite. He's outside and he throws it inside. So he's chayiv. Only the object mode. Rishus Yachid, Rishus Yachid, Rishus Rabban be'emtza. It's getting interesting. He's throwing it from a private domain to another private domain, and there's a Rishus Rabban in the middle. Now this could happen. Two possibilities. Could be that they're on the same side of the street and they're on balconies. That allows for the Rishus Rabban to be under them. So when they throw, they're throwing on the same side of the street. And the Rishus Rabban is actually in between because there's protrusions from the houses that are going into the Rishus Rabban. So when he passes, when he throws it over, it's going over the Rishus Rabban. The other possibility is he's throwing it across the street. That's better aim. Throw across the street. So, but the halacha is actually going to be different. So, Rabbi Akiva Mechayev. Akiva says Yechayev if you throw from a private to a private domain with the Rishus Rabban in the middle. Chacham Paiter and Chacham say is exempt. Ketzad, how is this? Shtei guzos choice. You have two balconies. Zu keneged zu, Rishus Rabban. This one across from this one in the Rishus Rabban. So it's across the street. So hamoishet v'hazoyrek mizul zu pater. Someone throws from one balcony to the other, or he passes from one balcony to the other. He's exempt. They joke about the conversations that would take place across the balconies in New York. It's kind of like this, hey, lower your radio. So he threw something across. So he's pater. Let's say they're both on the same side. This means the same level. But what I mean it's referring to is at the same side of the street. Then hamoishet chayev. You pass along the length of the Rishus Rabban, not across the width. Pass along the length of the Rishus Rabban. He's chayev. But if he throws it, then he's going to be pater. So are we explaining the opinion of Rabbi Akiva that says chayev? No, we're explaining the opinion of the Chachamim that say pater. I'm not sure in the Ketzad. Ketzad, I have two cases here. I have a Zayrek that's pater. Actually, I have both Zayriks are pater. Moishit is chayev. So it must be that we're explaining the Chachamim. Shekachai Savedas Alviyah. Because why is Moishit? Moishit means passing. And passing along the length of the Rishus Rabban, from one balcony to the next, down the block. Not across the street, but down the block. Passing one to the next is chayev, because the Levium would do this in the Mishkan. And we know that all the malachas of Shabbos are taken from work that was done in the Mishkan. So Shtei Agalis, there were two wagons. Zu achar zu, one behind the other, Rishus Rabban. So what they had was, they had the Mishkan, they would dismantle the Mishkan, and then they had wagons that were lined up, and they would put the krushim of the Mishkan onto the first wagon, and then the Levium would pass it from wagon to wagon to get it, like a conveyor, to get it to the front, and then they would continue passing. So in between the wagons, you can see is the Rishus Rabban. The wagons themselves are Rishus Yachid, and they passed from Rishus Yachid to Rishus Yachid with Rishus Rabban B'emtza, and the Rishus Rabban in the middle, and they were chayiv. And not they were chayiv. That was a malacha that was done. So hence, if someone else does that, he's going to be chayiv. Right? They did that in the preparation for the. It's not the construction of the Mishkan, but when they would dismantle it and travel. So that means that was a work that was done for the Mishkan, so that would make a person chayiv if he does that. Okay. On top of tzaddik, above on the base. gives a slight introduction to this whole thing. The Gemara says, Michti. Now that, let's see, Zrika told the Hitzahi, throwing an object is an offshoot of transferring an item from one domain to another. Hitzah means taking out from private domain. Hitzah gufa hecheksiva. Where does it say Hitzah in the Torah? Rabbi Yochanan says Damakra. We have a pasuk. Hitzav Moshe ve'avir kol b'machna. Moshe gave an announcement. He commanded, and the announcement went out in the camp that they should stop bringing the materials for the Mishkan, because they had enough. They had sufficient material. Moshe Heichen Avi Yosef. Where was Moshe sitting when he made this announcement? Machna Leviyah. He was sitting in his camp, which was Machna Leviyah, where the Levium were. Now Machna Leviyah Rishus Rabbim Haveh. Machna Leviyah was considered a public domain because that's where everyone would go. To ask Moshe. That was the general area in the center. So, and Ukamalul Yisrael, and he's telling the Jewish people, Leisafiku, do not take out V'tesu and bring Merishasayachad Didchul Rishasarabim from your own private domains to the public domain. See, it says that you should not take out on Shabbos. You should not do Hitzah. How do you know Moshe's announcement was on Shabbos? Maybe this announcement was during the weekday. He says no. And if it was in the weekday, and it was simply because they had enough. It doesn't have to be on Shabbos that he made the announcement. They had enough materials. So he said, stop, we have enough. It says clearly that the work was enough, was complete. There was enough materials for the work. So the Gemara says, Gamar Havara Mir Kippur. No, we know that it was done on Shabbos, that announcement. It says by Yosvaya Virukal B'machna that the announcement was made, that the voice went out was spread out in the camp. And over there it says that you will announce with the shofar of Trua, the shofar of blowing. So, Malahalan b'yayim asur, just like over there, it's a day that where work is forbidden. Afkan b'yayim asur, also over here, it's a day that work is forbidden. That's when he said that they should not bring any more materials. So there was a command by Moshe not to bring any more materials because it was Shabbos. Ashkechan Hitzah, you brought a support for Hitzah, which is carrying out into a public domain, from a private to a public. Achnasa minalan. How do you know you're not allowed to carry in? Well, it says, for that I don't need a pasuk. Svarahi, that's already logical. Michtim, rishus l'rishusu. Now that from one domain to another domain, mali afukim, mali ayuli. What's the difference if you're taking out or bringing in? However, miyo hitzah achnasa is a tilda. Main one, the father, Malacha here is taking out, and bringing in is considered a tolda. Bringing in means from a public domain to a private domain. Okay. Michti. The Gemara says 1 second. Okay, so one's an av, one's a tolda.
Quick question, clarification. So even though the pasuk is referring to bringing in, because Moshe was telling the Yidden, don't bring any more. We have enough.
Moshe was in a public domain.
Right. He was in Machna Levium.
Right.
He was in the public domain, so he was saying to people in the Rishus Yachid, don't bring any more in.
Don't bring any more. Well, I call it out. From the private to the public, I call that out.
Okay.
Don't bring any more of your private things out to the public, which is to Moshe is to where you are. Yeah, that was the term I was using. Because in general, Rishus Rabbim is outside.
Thank you.
Okay. So the Gemara now says, One second. So you said that one's an Av and one's a Tolda. What michti? Aham mechayev, aham mechayev. Yechayev for both. So Amaykar lehayav, Amaykar leTolda. What's the difference? You're just giving it a title, but the title doesn't seem significant because Yechayev for both. And there's no difference if you call it an Av or a Tolda. Gemara says no, there is a difference. Nafkamina. The difference is the Avish Bade Adadi. If you do two Avis separate malachas, Avis, at the same time, it doesn't have to be at the same time, it just means in the same forgetting that it's Shabbos. So then, Inami Shtei Toldas Bade Adadi, or you do two Toldas of separate Avis, Mechayev Tarti, you're going to be Chayev two Korbanos. Let's say someone separates. So let's say someone plows and he sows the seeds. Okay, so he's chayiv two korbanos, even though it's one forgetting. Or if he does two toldas of tolda of sowing the seeds, maybe that's watering, and the tolda of plowing, smoothing out the earth or something. So he would be chayiv two korbanos as well, two toldas or two avos. It doesn't matter. So what's the difference? The difference is if you do an av in a tolda of the same malacha, where he plows and he also smooths out the earth or something like that, where it's an av of chayrish and it's a tolda of chayrish, so then he's only going to be chayav one. In our case, what's the significance? If someone carries out, it means he carries from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, and then he carries in, so he's only chayav one. It's an av in its own tolda. He's only chayav one korban. If you would have left everything as avos, so if you do two avos twice, you still only chayav one korban. Really, it doesn't. If you could leave everything as avos, it really doesn't matter. No. Then I wouldn't. If everything was avos, then I wouldn't be able to differentiate. I need to have categories to differentiate between categories. So I make an av, and everything that's in that category. That's what it means. There's an av, and then there's everything that's in that category that is one chatas for the whole thing. Okay. Rabbi Lezer, the Machayev told him Makamav. Rabbi Lezer has this unique opinion, and he holds that you're going to be chayev. Rabbi Lezer ben Hurkanes. He holds that you're chayev, even if you do an av and it's and a tolda. You're still chayev to av and it's tolda. You're still chayev to korbanos. Amaykar le'av, Amaykar le'tolda. So according to him, what do you gain by giving these titles, Av and Tolda? You chayev for each thing individually. It doesn't matter. So the Gemara answers, Hachtav mishkan chashiv b'kar le'av, Hachtlev mishkan chashiv b'kar le'av. The Gemara says kar le'tolda. If it was important in the Mishkan, then it's called an Av. If it wasn't important in the Mishkan, it's not called an Av. Inami, Hacht ksiva kar le'av, Hacht le'ksiva kar le'tolda. If it was written, it's an Av. Where is it written in the Mishnah? We're asking on the Mishnah. What do we mean? Ksiva. Ksiva in the Torah? I guess Ksiva in the Torah. I guess because over here it says, Vayavir kol b'machana, that they should not bring any more. So that's why it's called an Av. Here we have a case of ksiva, that haitzah is written in the Torah, and achnasa is not written in the Torah. So achnasa is considered a tolda. Bringing into a house from Rosh Hashanah is considered a tolda. It's not written in the Torah, and haitzah is written in the Torah. Okay. V'had Tanan, this that it taught in the Mishnah, Hazerik Dalet Amos B'Kaisel. Someone throws 4 tvachim. We had this beginning of the Masechta. Someone throws 4 tvachim in Rosh Hashanah, and let's say it's a piece of dough, and it hits the wall, and it sticks to the wall. L'mayla miyud tvachim, and it hits the wall above 10 tvachim. That's kazerik ba'avir. That's like it hasn't landed. So it hasn't landed, says pater. L'mata miyud tvachim, but if he throws it below 10 tvachim and it hits the wall, kazerik baretz. That's like he threw it to the ground. Means it's landed. But zarik baretz dalaram is chayiv, and he's going to be chayiv. Zarak dalaram is precious rabbi minal and the mechayiv. But how do you know that throwing 4 amos in Rosh Hashanah is chayiv? In other words, we're going through this introduction here. How do you know the malacha of carrying? So we went through carrying out is in the Torah. Carrying in, we learn it from the Torah. What about 4 cubits in a public domain? That's what we're asking now. Rabbi Yeshia, specifically throwing. We said 4 cubits in a public domain is chayiv, right? Like this was if it was just passing through a public domain. Rabbi Yeshia shkin orgi yiriyas, the weavers of the tapestries, Mishkan, Zarkan Machtem Zelazeh. In the Mishkan, they would throw their needles one to another. Mar says, Argan Machten Lamalu, what do weavers do with needles? Weavers don't use needles. That's, the tailors use the needles, the embroiderers. Elishkin Teufer Yiriyah Zarkan Machtem Zelazeh. No, it's not the weavers. We're talking about the people that sewed, the people that sewed the Uriah. Rashi explains that it was the people that were doing the embroidery on the decorations on it. The Gemara says, how do you know that they would pass needles to another across 4 amas? Maybe they sat close together. And if someone needed a needle, so they would pass it. They didn't have to throw it 4 cubits. Go back to the weavers. The weavers would throw the shuttle. The shuttle was that, I guess we're familiar with it on the fishing rod. There's the thread that gets pulled out, just keeps going. So they would throw something like that, the spool of thread. They would throw it through the loom, and the fellow on the other side would throw it back. It would go up and down, and they would throw it back and forth as it would go up and down. So that could be 4 amas. It says, 1 second. When you throw the spool of thread through, you hold the end of the thread, not throwing the whole thing through, or else it's not a game of catch. You try to get the thread to go through while you're holding the end of the thread, and then you get back, so that way you have the cloth is being made. It says, B'nischa Basra, very interesting answer. Last throw, there's no thread left. So the last throw, over there, you just throw the shuttle through. It says, V'makam P'tur Kazla. 1 second. It's going in between the cloth. That's not considered a Rosh Hashanah. That's considered a Makam P'tur because it's not 4 tefachim wide. The cloth was probably long, but how big was the loom? That could have been less than 4 tefachim. Means that someone on another loom was doing his other weaving. He needed some more thread. He would throw it over to him. Pass the thread. He would pass it over. So that became a malacha for 4 amos in a public domain. Maybe they were all close together, all the weavers. It says mata adadi b'chefes. No, when you pull the thread tight at the end, you're going to bang into each other. Can't be too close. Maybe these weavers, they weren't exactly back to back, but it was on and off. They spaced it out so that they shouldn't bang each other, but they're still not 4 cubits away. one in, one out, and that way they're able to do their work. Assume Mishilim Adadi, and all this is based on the premise that they were borrowing equipment from one another. But Tanya Luda, taught in a brisa. Each man from the work that he was doing. He was able to do work with his own materials. He wouldn't do work with his friend's materials, as each one was fully supplied with all the materials that he needed. The only way that you're getting Zayrik Dalet Amas is because he's saying he ran out and his friend would pass it to him. Everyone had enough. How do you know that just carrying in Rosh Hashanah is chayiv? We've been talking about passing. Ela kol dalet amas Rosh Hashanah gemar gemirila. Anything that has to do with 4 amas in Rosh Hashanah is a tradition. Gemar gemirila. It's usually used the term to be a halacha l'maish misina. Okay. Where it says Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. It's a famous Gemara. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, Mavar Abba Amas B'Shis Mekoshesh Mavar Abba Amas B'Shis Rav Mahava. There was a person, which I forget which parsha was. We always learned he was collecting things on Shabbos. So they brought to Moshe, they didn't know what punishment he should get. And it was determined that he's going to get skila. So what sin did he do? So Rabbi Yehuda Mishmol says the Makoshesh that violated the Shabbos, he was Maver Abrahamis B'Shis Rabbi. That's what he did. He was carrying 4 cubits in a public area. However, Masnisa Tana, the Brisa says, Chayla Shabbat, that he was uprooting. He was taking things that were connected to the ground. And Rabbi Bar Yaakov Amar Ma'amar Hava. Rabbi Bar Yaakov says that he was bundling 3 possible malachas. Lamai nafkamina. What's the difference? Look at the Rav. The difference is according to Rav. Rav said, Matzasi Megillah Starim Be'Reb Chia. I found a secret notebook in the house of Reb Chia. The reason why this is a secret notebook is because this was at a time when they weren't allowed to write the Mishnayos, the Brises, and but they still had notebooks. They weren't allowed to publicize them. People, for their own memory, for their own learning, they would write these private notebooks. So Rav says he found this notebook. And in the notebook it said, Isi ben Yehuda Imer, scroll. Isi ben Yehuda Imer, Avis Malachas Arbaim Chasrachas. There's the fathers of Malachas, the primary Malachas, are 40 minus 1. They mustn't call them Malachas. If you do them all in one, forgetting it, I think that's not supposed to be there. Ve'ena Chayav Alachas. And you only Chayav 1 carbon. Achas v'sulai, only 5 on carbon. But Tanan, what is he saying? We had a Mishnah in Klal Gadol. It says, Avis malachas abam chaser achas. There's 40 minus 1, 39 malachas, primary malachas. Valvinamban, we asked, Minyan alamali, why do you have to tell me the number? We can count it ourselves. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, the number is significant. Because the number is telling me, Shemasan kulam elamachas, that if you do them all in one forgetting, chayav al kalachas v'achas, you chayav for each one. So, what are you telling me, Rav, Megillah Starim, that you only chayav one carbon for all the malachas? It's clear from the Mishnah, you chayav on each one. Ema say, Eina chayav alachas mem. There's one of them that's exempt. There's one. There's one malacha that doesn't have the punishment. Which one is it? So we don't know. but we're going to use the process of elimination to figure it out. We know some of them are definitely chayiv. Goes like this. Rabbi Yehuda pshitulei da hamaber chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda says, well, I don't know which one it is. One thing's for sure, maver is chayiv, because the Makoshish was maver and he was chayiv. Masnisa pshitulei da telish chayiv. The Brisa says, I don't know which one it is, but the Brisa says clearly that if someone removes something from the ground, is chayiv, because that was the case with the Brisa says that was the case of the Makoshish, and he was chayiv. Rabbi Yaakov says that no, gathering is definitely chayiv. It's not gathering; it's bundling is chayiv. Mar savar hami alei masafka. So we don't know which one it is, but we know definitely that that's not part of the doubt. That's clearly the one that's going to be chayiv. Comes out is that the doubt is only about 38. We don't know which one of the 38 is exempt. I think the Gemara says that it's making a fire, according to one opinion. Okay. Taner Rabbanan. Starting in a braysh. Makoshish zet tzlafchad. Makoshish is tzlafchad. You know the story with tzlafchad. The daughters came and said our father died, and he died because of a sin, and we would like an inheritance in the land. That's just 5 daughters. So in the end, they end up getting an inheritance from the grandfather and from the father. So what sin did he do? So the Brisa tells us, see it's Rabbi Akiva, that Makoshish, that Tzlafchad was the Makoshish. It's easy, you put 2 stories in the Torah together, you have it worked out. It also says, "Vayu b'nei Yisrael b'midbar b'yimtzuish." It says the Jewish people were in the desert, and they found a man that was collecting or was gathering wood on Shabbos. And then it says further on that the good daughters say, "Our father died in the desert." Just like over there, was talking about. About tzlafchad. Also over here it's tzlafchad. It doesn't tell me exactly which words are connecting to ish. Doesn't tell me what Rabbi Akiva is doing to connect them. Does it say over there?
Isn't it the word bamidbar?
Oh, you think that's what it is? That could be.
Well, that's
the common word.
Yeah.
Even Yisrael b'midbar. That's the common word. That's probably correct. That's the common word there. So the b'midbar connects them. I guess it doesn't even need to say b'midbar. You know the whole story was b'midbar. It's Mala and Tzlafchad Afchan Tzlafchad the Rabbi Akiva. He says, you see, that tells me who it was. The daughters, the father of these daughters died because he was the Makoshish. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says to him, this must have been early because Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira was in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. He says, Akiva, it is early, he's calling him Akiva. He says, Ben kacha asid litness, then you're in trouble either way. Im kidvarecha, if you're right, Atara kisata ivata megalei say, the Torah didn't tell us how he died. It didn't tell us who the Makoshish is. You're revealing a secret that the Torah concealed. Vim lav, and if you're wrong, atamaitzi laz aleisid tzaddik, then you're making a false rumor about Tzlafchad, that he was a Machal Shabbos. The Allah Hagamar Gzeir Shava, but he had a Gzeir Shava. It must be like Moshe said, the Bamidbar. It says the word Bamidbar. So, Gzeir Shava Legamar. Rabbi Meseir didn't have the Gzeir Shava in his tradition. So what did Tzlafchad do wrong? Why did he die? It says clearly Bechet Mes. Ki Bechet Mes. It says Mevi Afilu Hava. He was one of those that after the spies People said people were afraid to go into Eretz Yisrael. After that, there was a group of people that said, no, we're able to, we're going to go in. In other words, it was exactly the opposite of the spies. Moshe said, no, you have to wait for Hashem's command. Because they went up and they died. So he was from these Ma'apilim. We find a similar thing. It says, Vayicharaf Hashem bam, Vayelach. Because the anger of Hashem was on them. This is Miriam.
Who was saying about that the person who died was from the Ma'apilim?
This would be Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira's opinion.
So isn't he doing the same thing that Rabbi?
Yeah, that's a problem. Rashi answers that without asking the question. He answers that by saying that it wasn't a severe sin like Chol Shabbos. Kiva is saying that he's Machal Shabbos. That's very serious. He was saying that he went, he didn't follow Moshe. He didn't follow Moshe's instructions.
That's still laws on the tzaddik, or
right.
If it was meant to be Nistar, so why was he revealing it?
Right. Right. The other side. That's a good question. That's a good question. Let's see if I find anything. I'll look that up today. Bezrat Hashem. Similarly, we have another thing. It says, V'yicharav Hashem bam v'yelach. This is by Miriam and Aaron are speaking about Moshe, that he left his wife, and the cloud departs, and the anger of God is on them, and the cloud departs. Malamed shaf Aaron etzar. This teaches us that Aaron had saras as well. Besides Miriam, Aaron also had saras. The Rabbi Akiva says this. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says to him, says Akiva, you're in trouble either way. If you're right, the Torah didn't say that Aaron had saras. You're revealing that secret. And maybe you're wrong. Saying that Aaron had saras, it's a laz. It's a false rumor. But it says that the anger of Hashem was on them. That's where he's learning it from. It says a plural. On them, didn't say on her. It says that's just an anger. He was angry with him. It doesn't mean he had saras. She had saras. Tanya Commander Amar Af Aaron Itzad. There's a brisa that says that Aaron also had saras. The Ksiv Vayifan Aaron el Miriam Vina Mitzaras. Aaron turned to Miriam, and behold, she had saras. She had leprosy. If that's the translation. Tana was taught in a brisa Shepana Mitzarate, that Vayifan Aaron was immediately healed from his tzaras. Vayifan Aaron, he turned. That means his tzaras went away. It means he had tzaras as well. It's a riot to Rabbi Akiva. Amar Reish Lakish says, Acheshid b'kshem like a begufa. Someone suspects the innocent. He accuses an innocent or suspects an innocent falsely. So he himself, his body gets struck with something. It says, V'hin la yaminuli. It says, Moshe Rabbeinu says to Hashem that the Jewish people won't trust me. V'galia kamikut shebricha domini Yisrael. But it was revealed to Hashem, it was open in front of Hashem that the Jewish people would believe it. Amar Loi, he says to him, Hein maminim b'nei maminim. They're believers, sons of believers. And in the end, you won't believe. Hein maminim, iksiv vayaminam, is that the people believed. B'nei maminim, the sons of believers, v'emin b'Hashem. It says that they trusted in Hashem. And in the end, you won't believe. Over there by striking the rock. So in the end, you didn't trust me to speak to the rock instead of striking it. Okay, so that's what Hashem tells him, that in the end, what you accused the Jewish people of is going to happen to you. How do you know that he was struck with something? It says, put your hand inside by your chest and take it out, and behold, it was tsaras. It means Moshe had tsaras because he accused the Jewish people that they won't believe. Let's leave it over here.